Welcome, everyone. This is Brother Doug. I'm with my sister Shoshana, our brother Dennis, our sister Sally, and we are the Awakened by Yahuwah Assembly and Yahushua Messiah and Yahuwah Almighty. So we're going to be doing a study today, and it's going to be kind of like an expose at the same time of the alien deception exposed, okay? So hopefully the viewers can see this here. All right, so the aliens that visited us are actually the fallen angels in Genesis 6:4. We're going to go to there first. And we're going to show you here. I'll put it back on shared screen here on the eSword. Okay, so Genesis 6:1-4, which says...
Want me to read?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And it came to be, when men began to increase on the face of the earth, that daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were good, they were two, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And Yahuwah said, My Ruach shall not strive with mankind forever in his going astray. He is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. The giants were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of angels of Yahuwah came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown.
All right. Thank you, sis. So, and just to explain to the viewers and stuff, so probably the Septuagint's a little bit more honest with the way these verses are read, especially the last verse our sister Shoshana just read. Instead of mighty men of old, it's actually the giants of old, the men of renown. So these were, in your Greek mythology, what you've learned in public school and all that, the Titans. These were the Titans. So basically Yahuwah's spirit did not want to remain with the majority of mankind anymore, even though he was remaining with Noah and his family, because Noah was pure. Him and his family remained pure. Yahuwah did not want his spirit did not want to remain with the rest of mankind, because they defiled themselves. Especially the women. The women defiled themselves with the angels, which became known as the sons of Elohim in our Masoretic text. So that was Genesis 6:1-4, and it says, the next bullet point I have here, and let me make sure this is on shared screen here, is Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Whoops, my bad. I actually wanted to go to the document here. I don't know why it did that. All right, here we go. People are being deceived into believing the plurality of Elohim in Genesis 1:26 refers to green aliens or the gray aliens. Genesis 1:26, which some people will not accept, and they have a bias towards it. Genesis 1:26 is telling you that there is a plurality to the Creator, and there is a plurality to two people being at work and being the same Creator, the Father and the Son being our Creator. It says, and Yahuwah said, let us make man according to our image, plural, and likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the flying creatures of heaven, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over all the reptiles that creep on the earth. So you have a plurality and a singularity at the same time. You have two people, but yet it's only referring to the Father creating. So that is what I like, in my opinion, called the oneness there. And Yahuwah and Yahushua are co-creator. That's the reason I want to bring that out. Not angels or aliens. Yahuwah and Yahushua created us, not the angels or the aliens. So that's Genesis 1:26. So I wanted to bring that into it. Now it says here, there's nothing new under the sun, which, Shoshana, if you want to read that, that's from Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9.
Okay, I have to find Ecclesiastes.
Okay. Let's see here. Ecclesiastes. And let me see. Like,
Ecclesiastes 1. Tell me where to go again.
oh, okay. My bad. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9.
Okay,
Let's see here.
I'm about there.
Okay.
Okay, verse 29, you said?
Verse 9.
Verse 9, okay. Because
Yeah.
there is no 29. Verse 9 tells us, what has been is what shall be. What has been done is what shall be done. And there is nothing new under the sun.
Yep. Hallelujah. So this shows that what has happened will happen again, basically. Their history repeats itself. I forget who a famous person was quoted to say that. So if we don't learn from our history, we are doomed to repeat it. So there's even worldly knowledge that goes back to that. So let's see here. We got they will return again. So there is some truth behind this ancient astronaut theory that these quote unquote extraterrestrials will return again. The fallen angels will return again. But you must understand they are not these green looking aliens that you've seen in Hollywood. These are angels that rebelled and they're going
Or
to come.
the gray, the grays.
Yeah, the grays, reptilians, all that is pretty much a cover up to get you deceived into these aliens from another planet and the heliocentric model and all that to tie into evolution.
What it does is it makes us look like we're nothing. We're just a point of light in a universe full of billions of stars, planets, and other people. And that's not true. We are a specific creation of the Father and his Son, Yahusha. And we are very important to him. And they're trying to cover up that importance. And I don't know that they're trying to, that they're actually doing it maliciously, but the fact is, if you believe ancient aliens created us and not the Father, then you're believing in a lie that makes us look insignificant, very insignificant, when the Father, Yahuwah, created us to be very significant in his creation. That's all I wanted to add at this time.
Yep. And Yahusha's own words is that they would return in a way, because in Matthew 24, verse 37, he lets you know, as the days of Noah were, so will his return be. So we have to understand Genesis 6:4. For any Christians that might be listening, or any brothers and sisters of ours that are in the Torah keeping movement in believing Yahusha and Yahuwah, we must understand Genesis 6:1-4, what it truly is saying from the interpretation of the early Israelites, not the cemetery school interpretation. Okay?
Yeah.
For us to even understand what the days of Noah were, we have to know what Genesis 6:1-4 is literally saying. But as the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be, or the Ben Hadam be. So he's telling you what his return is going to be like, kind of like a marker to set prophetically. Okay, he's going to be returning when we're going to be back to the days of Noah and the days of Jared, even. So where you can only get that in the book of Enoch, mind you. That what was
Shall
happening.
I read the scripture?
Yeah, sure.
And as the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the Ben Ha-Adam be.
Yeah. So let's see here.
And the Ben Ha-Adam refers to Yahusha, his son.
Yep. Another thing you can find in the book of Enoch, a phrase that mostly is used in the book of Enoch and not much in our Old Testament. So, and let's see here. Also have another witness of them returning is Daniel chapter 2, verse 43, which says, let me go to it here, and I'll read from it here. Daniel chapter 2, verse 43 is a second witness here that they're going to return. See here. Try to make sure that it doesn't pause on the screen share. All right, here we go. And whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. So the first mingling of the seed of men is in Genesis 6, 1-4. Daniel chapter 2, verse 43, I believe, is the only biblical basis for a second incursion and its future. But they shall not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So you have metal and clay. So clay would be us, because we're made from the dirt. The iron or the metal is referring either to transhumanism, or it could be referring just to a different DNA mixing with us, which you can find in Genesis 6. So there's only two ways to really interpret this, is that either it's talking about transhumanism in the last days, or it's talking about the Watchers being mingling themselves with women again.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the only two ways you can interpret that.
And there's been some things on YouTube that indicate that this is already going on. There was an interview with about 4 or 5 women who claim to have been used as baby makers by the fallen angel. And one was the daughter of Queen Elizabeth, who claimed she gave birth to Satan's child. This is speculation, it's hearsay, but it is something I heard on a YouTube video. Not that I believe all the things I hear on YouTube videos, but this was quite interesting.
Yeah, and it seems like that's even promoted in a movie called, what is it called? That Arnold Schwarzenegger movie I always bring up about this topic. End Days, I think End of Days, that's what it's called.
End of Days. Mm-hmm.
And it portrays Satan possessing a human to make a baby with a human woman. So they kind of twist it a little bit. They add a little bit to it that he needed to possess a human body, which I don't think that's biblical. He doesn't need to possess a human. He has his own body. But just the idea of him mating with a woman to give birth to a hybrid child that would be the Antichrist is pretty interesting that kind of agrees with what Shoshana just brought up from a YouTube video. So they might be telling us something that could be happening now. It's either happening now or it happened already at this point, or it's going to happen at some point in the end times, according to Daniel 2:43. So either way, you have a future implication. And I don't personally believe in the whole second incursion of Genesis 6. I don't believe in that nonsense. I don't think that's biblical, that there was 2 incursions in the day of Noah. That's just my opinion. So that's the only biblical second incursion I believe that will happen in the end times, or has happened at this point. But anyway, so here's our third bullet point here. It says, they are deceiving the masses into thinking that these so-called aliens from another planet are benevolent beings, meaning kind beings, nice, and tube, not evil, out to help, that they just want to share their knowledge with us. Okay, so the first thing I want to go to is, this can obviously be disproven, because Genesis 3:4-5 shows us what happens when an angel gives us knowledge we're not supposed to know. And we're going to go here where God Ra'al, Satan himself, deceives Adam and Hua, and pretty much tells them, oh, you could be like me, you could be a Elohim, lowercase a. And let's see here, I'll go to the Septuagint because you can really get the truth out of this from the Septuagint. It says, the Nakash replied, that's not true, you will not die. And he says, Yahuwah said that because he knows that when you eat it, oh, my bad. And the Nakash said to the woman, you shall not surely die. For Yahuwah knew that in whatever day you should eat of it, your eyes would be opened, and you would be as Elohim, plural, knowing tube and evil. So basically he's saying as me and the other sons of Elohim. That's what he's really saying. He's like, you could ascend and be like an angel. You could have a higher consciousness. You could be a deity. So that's what he's really saying. And so that was just a promise of Satan that they fell for. And so that was the first time. Hey, Don, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, Don is my dog. He likes to be involved.
Let's see here. So being repeated by the Watchers in the book of Enoch, you can find this where the Watchers actually kind of reinstitute whatever Satan embelled on Adam and Hua through the forbidden fruit. First Enoch chapter 7, 1-5. I'm going to read here from my Tom Horn Apocrypha here that has the book of Enoch. And it says in First Enoch chapter 7, 1-5, and all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, Genesis 6, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go into them and defile themselves with them. So anyone that still believes in the Seth theory, you might want to ask yourselves, why would a human having intercourse with a male human having intercourse with a female human be defiling themselves? That's just a thought. And they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. Now, acquainted with plants, that kind of sounds like some type of Gaia worship type of stuff. I also, yeah, go ahead.
To me, it's more like using plants for pharmakia, medicines and drugs, because that's what they do today. And that's what I think was happening. Because Yahuwah is against pharmakia. He did give us certain plants that would help us if we had certain ailments, but I don't think he meant for us to be sick at all.
Yeah. Another possible thing with the acquainted with plants just came to my mind. Nowadays, there's something in modern science where people are actually trying to almost like have sex with plants. And I've seen a rise of this where people are like literally like, taking tree hugger to an extreme. And it's just weird. So I wouldn't be surprised if that. There's nothing new under the sun, according to King Solomon. Maybe that's what was going on too. I mean, there could have been a lot of stuff. What very general the way it's worded. They became acquainted with plants. So I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been happening. Probably all of them were happening. Drugs, getting a little too intimate with Mother Nature. It's just a theory I have.
Well, I'll read the rest of this chapter.
Hmm.
And they became pregnant, and they bore great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells. Now, I don't know what an ell is, but I imagine it was pretty big, who consumed all the acquisitions of men, and when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and bees and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. So, as you can see, they were not very kind and uh, good people to get to know. These aliens were evil, very evil, because they were fallen angels.
And let's see here. So blood, that's why in the Torah it says do not consume anything with the blood in it. Talks about do not drink blood. That's the reason Yahuwah had to make a direct commandment about it. It's because these
It's
guys were teaching mankind.
because the life is in the blood. That's what he tells them. The life is in the blood. So you don't want to drink the life of the creature. And especially a person. You don't want to eat human flesh. That's horrible. That's what these giants were doing. And they were doing it to each other. So, no, they were not good at all. They were horrible.
And actually these watchers were teaching all the drinking blood, the devour one another's flesh. So they were teaching humans cannibalism. They were teaching drinking the blood. And they also were teaching humans to combine animals. They were teaching hybridization. They were teaching in Greek mythology where you get a satyr, you get what is it called? Centaur, half human, half horse.
Yeah.
You get all these hybrids in Greek mythology. Well, probably Greek mythology, its origin goes back to the days of Jared.
From what I've heard, Greek mythology is not mythology at all. It's history. And the people over there in Greece will tell you that is their history. They totally believe it. And I believe it too.
Yeah. So we got chapter 8 I'm going to read here. It gets into more of this evil stuff, and it gets worse from here. And Azazel, which interestingly enough, the Apocalypse of Abraham identifies Azazel as Satan, so that's kind of interesting. Taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them and bracelets. And so that goes into jewelry and stuff like that. So that's a whole other topic. And ornaments,
which is jewelry, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. This is makeup, folks. And I don't think we're supposed to be wearing it. So that's just my conclusion, that we should not be wearing makeup because of what these giants taught.
Yeah, it makes me even wonder about jewelry too, how Paul is extremely strong against women adorning themselves with a lot of jewelry. So I kind of wonder, Paul was quoting from Enoch there, talking about how a woman should dress modestly and all that. So I kind of wonder if he was kind of hinting that women shouldn't be wearing jewelry at all. It's just a thought. And there arose much unrighteousness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Samyaza taught enchantments, root cuttings, Armoros, the resolving of enchantments. Barakial taught astrology. Kokabal, the constellations. Azakaal, the knowledge of the clouds, probably the knowledge of the heavens and stuff like that. Arakial, the signs of the earth, and Shamsaial, the signs of the sun, and Sarial, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. So you get astrology from them, which is the zodiac and all of that. That was taught by the Watchers. So a lot of demonic occult knowledge we were not supposed to know. Now, I find it a little weird that it would be wrong to know how the moon moves, but I guess maybe Yahuwah just felt like that's stuff we don't need to know. Like the course of the moon and how the moon moves and how the sun moves and all that. I guess Yahuwah thought, that's not like a need-to-know basis for us to know.
But it is in the book of Enoch. It tells us the courses of the sun and moon. Not that it tells us how they move, but it does give us the courses.
So that was it for chapter 8, I believe. And then you have verse 1 from chapter 9 I also wanted to read here. It talks about, and Mikael, meaning Michael, the archangel, Uriel, and Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth and lawlessness being worked upon the earth. I also wanted to mention earlier in chapter 8, it talks about Azazel taught the weapon of war and all that. It's kind of interesting because in Roman mythology, probably this guy Azazel eventually became Mars, which is supposed to be the deity of war. So it's kind of interesting how this stuff kind of evolves into all these other religions that you see, like the Greek religion, the Roman religion. And so possibly Azazel, God Real, started to become worshipped, and a lot of religions started to adopt this guy, and Mars is the Roman version. So that's just something I want to let the listeners know. Let's see here. Okay, we got, they have been conditioning the masses into believing aliens visited this earth of ours in our past when it was actually fallen angels transgressing and lusting after human women. And you can find that in, I think I'll let Sister Shoshana read it. It's in 1 Enoch, chapter 6, 1-2.
Okay.
Yep.
And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heavens, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. And that's how it happened. That's what they did. That's why we have giants in the earth. They've dug up the skeletons, and they know that they exist. And this is why we have gigantic structures on the earth that have been built by them, which, again, they attribute to ancient aliens, but we know it was the giants that built them.
Of course, again, you have Genesis 6, 1-4 to match with that from 1 Enoch 6, 1-2. Same exact event. That's a second witness in the canon for that. Jude 1-6, I'm going to read real quick because this is an important one. This shows the validity of Enoch, that Enoch is actually scripture here, because it shows you something that you cannot get in the canon other than the book of Jude. It says, Jude 1:6, and the angels who did not keep their own domain or their own principality, it says in the original Greek, but rather having left their own habitation. Now, this word habitation in the Greek is okaterion, which means a house, a body. Like, we are a house for Yahuwah to dwell in, our bodies. Okay, so what it's really saying is that the Watchers left heaven and they went out of their own habitation, their own okaterion, their own body, and took on another type of body. He has kept for everlasting chains under Tartarus for the judgment of the great day. Now, where's Tartarus in the Torah or the Tanakh? Nowhere. You can't find Tartarus in our Bibles in the Old Testament. It's nowhere there. And Tartarus, this is the only place Tartarus is there in the original Greek. And this is the only place you can find it in the New Testament, because it is a place described of in the book of Enoch. And it's a prison in the bottomless pit for the Watchers. And they are sentenced, the book of Enoch says they were sentenced for 70 generations. So that's a witness in Jude 1:6 for the validity of Enoch. And I have another one here, 2 Peter 2:4, which talks about, oh, my bad, I think 2 Peter was the one that said Tartarus. Oh, my bad about that.
No, we just read Jude.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got that word right for darkness. Let me see here. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4 says, for if Yahuwah did not spare the angels when they sinned, but rather confined them to Tartarus. Okay, 2 Peter's word says Tartarus. My bad about that. I misspoke. And delivered them into chains of darkness. So either way, it's nowhere else in Scripture. The only way you know what Tartarus is by reading Enoch. That's a word that's not even used in the canon. So
yeah, let's find that in Enoch, because that's important. You happen to know where it is?
Yeah, let me see here. I'm going to look for it. Tartarus in the book of Enoch. Because I don't remember exactly what chapter or verse. Let's see. Tartarus.
We do need to show our audience where it is so that they will believe us.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where exactly it is, because I think that's later on. That's probably when they get where the punishment comes. Let's see here. I might have to pause the recording here and try to find it. I'm back, everyone. Sorry for the delay. We found where in Enoch it references Tartarus, and it's Enoch chapter 20. And it's a very short chapter. I'm just going to read the 8 verses here. And these are the names of the set-apart Malachim angels who watch. Uriel, one of the set-apart Malachim, who is over the world and over Tartarus.
Mm-hmm.
So Uriel might be the guy that Yahuwah says, all right, give them the key to the bottomless pit. Yahuwah's like, all right, they want it. All right, give it to them. You know, they want to cause their own destruction. All right, give the heathen the key to the bottomless pit. Go ahead. So that's just a theory of mine here. Raphael, one of the set-apart angels who is over the spirits of men. Rakual, one of the set-apart angels who takes vengeance on the world of the luminaries. That's interesting. So I guess he takes vengeance against the bad luminaries. Mikael, one of the set-apart angels, the archangel Michael, to which he that is set over the best part of mankind, and over chaos. So he is the prince spoken of in Daniel 12. That's the same guy. Sarakaal, one of the set-apart angels who is set over the spirits who sins in the spirit. Gabriel, one of the set-apart angels who is over paradise. And the serpents and the cherubim. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if that's supposed to be Nakash there. Just a assumption. Probably supposed to say over the Nakash and cherubim.
Mm-hmm.
Rama'al, one of the set-apart angels whom Yahuwah set over those who rise up. So like those that get up in the morning. He's like a guardian angel. Rama'al. So you get Tartarus in chapter 20 here, and Uriel is pretty much, the guy looking over Tartarus and probably kept charge over the Watchers. So you can find that in chapter 20, verse 2 in the book of Enoch to show you. So this is the only book where you can find Tartarus as a second witness to what Peter says in 2 Peter. Nowhere else in the canon does it talk about Tartarus. So I think that's giving validity. Validity.
Book of Enoch.
To the book of Enoch. Sorry about that. I'm stepping over my words here. Please stay tuned, everyone. We are running out of time, so we're going to try to get this to you as soon as possible, part 2, and we're going to dive straight into more of this topic, dealing with the deception of how this is going to lead to angel worship, how it's going to lead into causing you to rebel against Yahuwah and Yahusha in the end times.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get into the meat of this in part 2. Please stay tuned. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right. See here.